Remember when we used to do cold opens?
You see that? Oh, there he is. He's right there. See, he's right there.
I don't know what's going on.
I don't know what's going on either.
The schnozberries taste
was
like schnozberries.
This is all part of the live stream. We're just here for the show now at this point. How you guys doing today?
Man, you remember when we used to do these cold opens and stuff? Just start talking about rambling about nonsense, like if two teams played, neither one wanted to win, what would it look like?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, we know now.
Yeah.
We know now. Look at that. All right. We are officially here. You've got the Running Through the Jungle crew doing the roaring reactions on a Wednesday. Don't adjust your dial. We are going to do Running Through the Jungle right after this. It will be two separate shows. We're just going to get into this real quick, give you our reactions. I was out traveling. Tim's been under the weather for the past couple of days, so we're a little behind on some of our content, but we are throwing it out there for you so you can catch back up before you get into this week. We got the crew, the regular Three Musketeers. Got our boy Justin Lacey, your boy Tim Lyons here with me, Brandon Harriet. What's going on, fellas?
What it do?
I don't know. Things look a little trippy up there in the Northwest.
Yeah. And, I've been battling a stomach bug for the last couple of days. So, I kind of just been like under the weather. Then I know yesterday I was supposed to bring out the Who Day Weekly, and I totally just spaced my mind. I just totally forgot about it. But I will do that after we are done with Running Through the Jungle. Everybody will get a Who Day Weekly live after we are done here.
You know what? It's about the thing is that we were all really kind of like sick to our stomach regarding this past Sunday's game against the Titans. I think it all about made and threw everything out of whack just because they were out of whack. Both teams were. And I think that it really just reflects on all of us right now is that, look,
Right.
man, we just need a little bit of a break just to be able to kind of like get better. Just to actually fully digest. Look, it's a win, but damn, man, that was nasty.
Yeah, and listen, hey, for myself on Sunday, I was looking at a venue to host the rehearsal dinner for my upcoming wedding this spring and block off some rooms so we can have some guests there, doing all that kind of stuff. And then I was flying back on Monday, so we were doing a destination wedding thing. So, yeah, I got a lot of moving parts going on right now. Did a lot of wedding planning and booking and stuff this weekend. I did fit a couple rounds of golf in while I was down there, just so you know.
Hey, we did actually shout you out on last week's show when you were out on Run Through the Jungle. Tim and I was making it very known to the audience that, hey, man, you're taking care of business, though. You got to please the missus, man. You got to do a little bit. It's a good time for you, So, yeah, we made that known to the audience.
Yeah, it's very few things in life are worth missing football stuff over. She is at the top of that list.
Hey,
so,
damn right.
I won't be on, and the guys don't even know it yet. Big G and Tate are probably doing pump your brakes right now. They won't know it, but I ain't gonna be on the homies on Friday either.
Yeah, they can talk. They can yell at with their Steelers stuff. All they can do all that separately. They don't need us for that.
And I'll be watching the Notre Dame game on Friday. So
there's a lot of contingent that knows that I'm kind of the guiding light in that group that keeps it on track a lot of times. If it like, let's put it this way: you ever been to like bowling for kids and they got those bumpers?
Yeah.
On the outside of the rail, pays a one bumper and I'm the other bumper, and we're trying to keep the other two out of the gutters.
Yeah,
that's how the homies goes. But I digress. But yeah, I take care of business. But we are back. We're here to talk Cincinnati Bengals football. Man, where to start? 10 turnovers. Neither
26
team
penalties. 26 penalties.
26 penalties. It was a sloppy game. It felt like it was going to go on all day. I never did feel like we were going to lose the game, though. I never did. All that said, man, there's a lot to unpack here. I want to start like we have been on the defensive side of the ball. Tim, I'm gonna let you start off here. What was your take on the defensive side of the ball, and who would you give your game ball to?
Well, I'm going to start off by giving my game ball. I'm going to do my game ball first because that's how I want to roll. I'm giving it to the dog, Mike Hilton. Yeah, he had 6 tackles, 5 solos, 3 tackles for losses, an interception. That's who I'm giving it to. Unfortunately, Justin and I, we picked Trey Hendrickson last week, but for some reason the NFL screwed Trey Hendrickson on not giving him that sack that caused the fumble. So unfortunately, sorry Trey, but I'm going with Mike Hilton this week. But on to the defense. We played a bad team. Our bad defense played against a bad team, and it really showed how Brian Callahan and the Titans, they're a young, well, I won't say a young team, but they're a building team. They're a team that's trying to get in the rhythm. Yeah, they have Tyler Boyd on their offense. They have some offensive linemen. They have Tajay Spears. They have Pollard. I was really worried about, how our defense was going to react to the run game. I'd have to look at this. We let 83 yards rushing go, which isn't bad because Pollard, if I remember correctly, was like 9th in the league in rushing with 900 and some yards rushing. So our defense played fairly well against the run game. We played fairly well against the pass game. There were some garbage touchdowns that were allowed in the end, whatever. I don't care. But is this defense getting Lou off the hot seat? Not after the. I still don't think so after this game. This game was, it was we were playing against a bad team, bad offense. Our defense just stepped up and took advantage of the times where, the opportunities that they were given and they capitalized on them. Jordan Battle would have been my game ball, but he doesn't know how to switch hands and not fumble the ball in the back of the end zone. But anyways, good game, guys. Defense, like I said, it was no saving grace. We have the Browns coming up, the Broncos, and then the Steelers again. If they have good games against them, then I'll say, yeah, the defense has improved. But I still don't believe Lou's seat has been saved.
Yeah, my take on this game is right. The old adage: did we beat them? Our defense beat their offense, or did their offense lose to our defense? They caused more of the problems than we caused. I feel like. All that said, is there a glimmer of hope that this may springboard some confidence that you start seeing more running around to the ball and more excitement on defense, and maybe that leads to a little bit better play? I mean, at this point in time, I hold on and grasp to any straw whatsoever I can get for defensive hope, guys. I'm saying it. I need hope on defense. There is none.
A man once told me, hope is not a strategy.
It's a true statement. That's what I'm saying. That's how bad things are. Justin, what was your take on the defensive side of this? Who do you give your defensive game ball to?
I'm in agreement with Tim, actually, with my game ball. Originally I was obviously going to say, Trey Hendrickson until somebody else steps up. I'm going to go with Mike Hilton as my game ball recipient too. I feel like that he really was the true captain of the defense. I'm not going to regurgitate the numbers that Tim already mentioned, but his interception really was an interception that he worked really hard for. The tipped and overthrow, whatever. It wasn't even an overthrow. It was a tip pass that he ricocheted and actually caught. It felt like it was a really hard-earned turnover that he actually worked hard at. My honorable mention is going to be Geno Stone too. For as much crap that I've given Geno Stone over the previous 13 weeks, his last 2 games have actually been an improvement to what it used to be. But it still doesn't absolve him of his piss poor play from the first half of the season up to the mid part of the season. He's still been an abysmal player, but it seems like he's finally coming into his own and kind of like getting those turnovers that he always wanted for. His pick 6 was very monumental. It swung the opposite way, and honestly, without it, I mean, wow, I never felt like that we were in danger of going to lose in the game, but I feel like that the offense, and we'll get there in a second, they weren't good enough to put this game away either, even when the opportunity was clearly right in front of them. I feel like that the defense did carry them through the day. I think that they committed enough turnovers for them to be able to be the leading cause of why we were winning this game. But I strongly caution people that think that it's just like what you guys said, of thinking that this defense has roared itself back. This was such a bad offense with the Tennessee Titans. This is a bad team. Will Levis, what he just shows is that yes, he can be hot at a little bit. He can have a moment, but more times he is going to be a turnover machine. And when he got pulled early due to his benching, and they replaced him with Mason Rudolph, I was like, uh-oh, because I was kind of nervous. I'm not going to lie. Mason Rudolph, 21 for 26, 209 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's starting in the third quarter. He did throw the interception, but never once did he actually punted the ball until it was like kind of late in the game. And it felt like that the defense had to go into this bend but don't break mode. They were giving up a lot of easy yards and stuff, and it was kind of frustrating. It's like, dude, get him off the field. Like, yeah, I get it. They had the one turnover, but get him off the field. And it was still frustrating. They still have these undisciplined missed assignments where they're missing tackles. Jermaine Pratt, it just feels like he's just too slow to read his gaps and tackling guys like Tajay Spears. And it's getting frustrating watching this group still. And even in spite of the 4 turnovers that they did commit, in the 1 forced fumble, like that from Trey Hendrickson that we did mention, even though I agree with Tim, it seemed like that the NFL screwed him about getting him a sack. And I got to see what that's about. I still don't feel confident in his defense, and this shouldn't be a calling card to say like, hey, look, you need to save Lou's job. This whole coaching staff still comes to question just because I'm not ready to kind of like absolve them of what they've done in previous weeks without closing games out. And this game was so ugly to the point where it's like, man, I still got questions. I still got more questions than answers. And yes, you came away with the win. Again, we'll get into the offense here momentarily, but the sideline eruption from Zach Taylor and Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is setting a standard about like, dude, this is embarrassing, man. We shouldn't be like this. We're 6 and F and 8, man. I mean, I'm just lip reading and paraphrasing for all the stuff that was being said.
And you're getting way ahead of the subject.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, like that's how I feel about this defense. Yes, you got turnovers, but it still was an embarrassing performance seeing guys like Jermaine Pratt, and I'm keep pointing at him because he's sort of in the leading category with tackles in the league. When I saw like he had 103 tackles in the league, but when I watched this game, that's a false stat that you'd be able to display because he missed the guy twice on back-to-back run plays, and I'm like, dude, make the tackle. Like, how are you that slow to get into reading the gaps? And don't get me wrong, he did make some good plays too, but it's so Jekyll and Hyde at this point with some of these defensive guys. But we absolved them of the blame for that past game just because they did get a lot of turnovers, and that was good to see. But just like how you both mentioned, it was more so subdued to the fact that this Titans offense is just a bad offense. This Titans team is just bad all the way around. They're young. They got to get more pieces in the building. But I do like some of the pieces that they do have. But at the end of the day, man, this defense, they got a lot of things to fix, man. I still don't know who to build my building blocks around when it comes to moving forward in the future year.
So, you hit on this a little bit. Austin Zart, thank you for rocking with us, as always, my man. He said, especially Jermaine Pratt, like he just so slow.
Slow, man.
But
so slow.
How about he was running his mouth quite a bit?
Too much.
Do you guys, did my eyes deceive me, or did Akeem Davis-Gaither outplay him?
No, your eyes did not deceive you. Now, Akeem Davis-Gaither did not play good either. I'm just going to kind of put that. It seemed like that they missed Logan Wilson so much more.
Lesser of two evils. Is that what we're going to look at here?
Yeah, I'm going to go with that because, look, Akeem Davis-Gaither, he's new to the starting lineup, even though he's been in this system for 4 years as well, too. But it seems like that this linebacking core surely misses Logan Wilson. He was the sure-handed tackler on that within the linebacking core. But yes, no, it definitely seems very crystal clear to me now that between Jermaine Pratt and ADG, it's almost like, man, ADG can cover more in space. I just think that Jermaine Pratt, he was just wearing a red dot for a long time now. He's one of Lou's captains on that side of the ball. But at the end of the day, it's just to the point where it's like, I need to immerse some new leaderships on that defense, especially that linebacking core. And I even said this before the season started, that a sneaky need for this team was linebacker, just because I'm not quite confident with the linebacking core that we have out there, just because nobody's really making any true plays. I think we like Logan Wilson, but we don't really truly love him, and he's not impactful enough. And it is clearly shown that Jermaine Pratt is not getting it done. He did make some plays. Like, he did create a good tackle for loss. I do give him credit with that. But again, how complex is the Titans offense to read? It's really not that difficult. So with that being said, you're just still missing tackles. You're still getting the small mental errors. You're still making those errors, and that's stuff that can't be excused. And yes, he's running his mouth way too much on social media for my taste. It's like, dude, if you were making Pro Bowls and stuff, I can kind of understand it, but you're not at this point. And quite frankly, I like Cheetah Bay Awuzie's response to him. If anybody saw it, he said, "Shut up and stay off Twitter." I'm just of that camp. So just stay off Twitter, Jermaine, and just go play football better.
Listen, I'll tell you, the Titans were handing out interceptions like they're Oprah Winfrey come on the comeback trail here. I want to give a shout out though. We got Fig Newton got a pick. That's nice. It's nice to see.
Mm-hmm.
And I start looking.
And he actually got that tip that led to the interception to Mike Hilton, I believe.
Mm-hmm. And I start looking at these defensive backs, knowing that we had some defensive backs that are on IR that were playing fairly well. Oh, I'm starting to think maybe we're in a little bit better spot than we thought we were with defensive backs, especially if we get a little more pass rush, right? Right now, we've got one guy we know that can rush a passer.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're chipping him and you're keeping him at bay, it gets a little slim out there. I think maybe that and some. I said it the past several weeks. I want some violence at linebacker, man. I want somebody to hit somebody.
Yeah, nobody's doing that. But I did want to point out the DB room, like you just mentioned. If we were seeing this type of early stage of development from this DB room earlier in the season, this is exactly why they did not go after a veteran presence in the offseason. I know everybody made that big stink about them not signing guys like Xavier Howard before the season started. And it's because of this exact same reasoning. You got DJ Ivy. He's a young draft pick. You got Fig Newton. I'm glad that he got himself in the game and started catching some interceptions and stuff like that. Cam Taylor-Britt was supposed to ascend to that number 1 spot after the departure of Cheetah Bay Awuzie, who, let me give a quick shout out to him. He played a really good game this past Sunday. I gotta say that. He did not look like a guy who was washed up. So, but Cam Taylor-Britt was supposed to be that ascension to that number 1 corner like he did last year when Cheeto sort of fell off and then got hurt. And then obviously you had DJ Turner who was coming in emerging. So you had a lot of crop of DBs that was really starting to come into their own and a lot of draft picks. This is why they didn't invest in no veteran player. They were supposed to be the new wave of young and developing. I loved that plan from the get-go. Unfortunately, it just wasn't working. I don't know. It just may have been something to do with scheme or whatever the case it may be. But they invested draft picks. They invested a lot of capital into this defense. And it just, unfortunately, just didn't work. Now it seems like that these guys are starting to kind of come at your own. But some guy actually posted this on Twitter, and forgive me to the person that will listen to this later on. And I don't know what the username is, but stated something that I can't believe it is so true. It is so sad that we get to this point where guys are getting opportunities because other guys get hurt, and that's unfortunate. Just because the talent was always there, like the backup probably was always a better option, but now they're getting thrust into the starting lineup because somebody's hurt. Like Sam Hubbard, for example. I appreciate for him catching the touchdown pass, but everybody crying about, oh man, that's probably his last play that he's gonna make as a Bengal. Dude, he's been playing bad all year long and even a little better last year too. And Miles Murphy and Joseph Osai was always the right answers to get more snaps over him, but yet Lou kept playing Sam Hubbard and it just wasn't working out. I always will love and appreciate Sam Hubbard's what he meant. He's a Cincinnati kid, all that through and through. No one appreciates that more than me. But it's the same thing in the same token sense that we've been talking about with these DB rooms and stuff like that. Sometimes the answer is on the bench, and you just haven't been getting them on the field, and that's the frustrating part.
Yeah, I'm tired of making the same conversation about it. They're going to continue to play the veterans. It seems like that's going to be their move, and that's why most of my qualms recently have been with the coaching staff and not anything else.
Yeah.
So, hey, that said, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to hear from our sponsors. You're with us here on YouTube. Just take a second to go hit that share for us and hit that thumbs up. If you're listening to us on podcast, get that notification, hit that bell. 5-star reviews, rate and review, and share us with a friend. We'll be right back after these messages. And we're back here in the Roaring Reactions. We're going to make it a quick one here on the way out. We're going to talk about a little bit of offense. I knew we were going to get on a little bit of a tangent with the defense. I'm going to throw it over to you, Tim. I want you to tell me, who is your offensive game ball going to? What did you see here that you liked out of the Bengals?
I'm giving it to the bell cow, to the horse on the field. I'm giving it to Chase Brown. 25 carries for 96, 97 yards, 3 receptions for like 13, 14 yards, whatever the hell it was, 2 touchdowns. Chase Brown, like I said, I've said this for the last couple of weeks now. Chase Brown has proven that he is a true number one. Like Justin said, it's too bad that it takes players to get injured to really see these players step up and get to play and do what they really love to do. Chase Brown has just been he's been playing great ball. He had over 100 total yards on last Sunday. He's had over 1,000 total yards this season. He's proven that he is what the Bengals need, and we actually ran the ball with him 25 times, which is, oh my gosh. But we were winning though, which normally happens. They start feeding him the ball, but he deserves the game ball. My bell cow, my horse on the field, Chase Brown.
Gotta love it. What was Rob Dyrdek when he had Rob Dyrdek and Big Black had that show and they had that mini horse? Remember the mini horse's name? I remember the dog's name was Meaty. I don't remember the mini horse's name.
I don't remember what it was either.
Yeah,
that's what I want to. That's what I want to call him. We got to figure that one out. All right. So your offensive game ball, Justin, you sticking with Chase Brown? You see something else you liked? What do you want to talk about on the offensive side of the ball?
Look, Chase Brown was my honorable mention because you can't ignore what he did. I feel like that he has definitely emerged himself for several weeks now as that go-to viable option for Joe Burrow, especially when it comes to making plays, as when Joe was scrambling around trying to get shifty in the pocket. That beautiful touchdown niftiness that he threw to Chase Brown after having 9 seconds to dance around, avoiding defenders. And Chase just made himself available. Chase Brown, that is, made himself available. It was just a thing of beauty, honestly. But I predicted before this episode, before the game,
the Houdini play, right?
Say it again.
That was the Houdini play. Did you see
The
that?
Oh yeah, the Houdini play, absolutely. But I predicted before the game that T. Higgins, this was going to be a game where he's going to kind of take center stage here as far as like the weapons go, and I'm going to go with that as my game ball. It feels like that while Jamar's presence is obviously well known and well respected, it felt like that when Joe Burrow needed a big play, T. Higgins was there. And I think that T. Higgins, especially on that touchdown throw that he threw, that 39-yarder, beautiful throw by Joe. But for T. Higgins to be able to make the catch, bounce off of a big hit by a defender, and still make it in the end zone and still hold on to the ball, that was the thing that I looked forward to the most, man. That was awesome. And quite frankly, T. Higgins is going to be the guy for my game ball recipient here. Even though you can't go wrong with Chase Brown, you can't even go wrong with Jamar Chase. You can't go wrong with Joe Burrow. And this is where I want to
94, 271.
9 of 94, really should have had a touchdown. But again, I got to give Cheeto credit, man. That touchdown, he swatted away a ball that Jamar Chase would have caught for a touchdown. But Cheeto made a good defensive play on it when they was catching him off sides with 12 men on the field, I believe it was. You got to tip your cap to the defense that Tennessee was prepared for. That was a tough defensive line. So here's what I'll say about the defense. About the offense. I know a lot of the growing concerns is going to be about the turnovers. Joe Burrow had 2 picks in this game. He also had a forced fumble T'Vondre Sweat, once again, he made a great play on just stripping the ball away from as he was getting tackled. I'm not really upset about that. I think that Joe Burrow understands that he knows he got to play better. And I think that he knows he's going to right the ship. He also played really well. He was blazing to start off the game, like 200-something yards and stuff in the first half, 3 touchdowns. He should have had another game where it was like 300, 350-plus yards in this game. But you got to credit Tennessee's defense for adjusting.
At least they ran the ball 25
times. And to Tim's point, man, I was really happy that they stuck with the run in this game too, just because there are going to be games where you just need to grind it out in the second half when you already have somewhat of a solid lead. But the problem is that they weren't consistent enough, just to be able to close the games out. And that was kind of frustrating too. But more importantly, man, they still got the win. They still made enough plays. They still scored enough, but they could have definitely put up 40 in this game, even with the pick sixes and all that, even with the mishap that Jordan Battle had. I think that this offense should have did a little bit more in the second half of the game to be able to blow this Titans team out. Obviously, I feel like the Bengals were still in control throughout the whole entire game, but it just still didn't feel like that they dominated the game like the score may have looked and indicated. So, unfortunately for me, I still walk away from this game coming with, if it wasn't for the stalwarts on the offensive side of the ball being like the great usual team that they are, like the great usual performers that they are, this offense was going to stall out, man. But you still got to give credit to where credit is due. They hung in there. They kind of stuck with their game plan. But guys like Devin Cochran, which he did the best that he could in the situation he was put in. But guys like Devin Cochran, man, I don't know. Cam Grandy having 3 false starts. Again, this was one of those ugly games where it's like, I hope this is an anomaly, that this doesn't happen again on a weekly basis. But it's just certain times that you got to nip that stuff in the bud, man, because that's unacceptable. That stuff will not fly against better teams that have had your number in the past.
Justin, you ever golf?
I have. I suck.
So this is that feeling, it's a completely different feeling if you step up to a par 3, you're 165 yards out, and you pull out a 7-iron, 8-iron, whatever you hit there. Bam! You hit a nice high draw and swoop, stake it right in the middle of the green. That feels really good.
Yeah.
This was more of that. I bladed it. It was a worm burner. Never got off the ground. Rolled up over, hit a rock, bounced to the left, and careened onto the green. That's what this game felt like to me. That's my
a good
analogy.
representation of it.
That's my analogy for this. Somehow it ended up on the green. It wasn't pretty, but it got there. Listen, my game ball, I'm going to give it to Joe Burrow. He was 26 for 37. He was 271, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks. We've said that. We talked about how he's Houdini getting around out of the pocket. He's under way too much duress. I don't even know. They got Bank Teller, I think, playing left tackle. I don't know, what's going on with the offensive line. Just doesn't seem to be where they need to be. And he always seems to get out of it. But the reason why I'm going to give him my game ball is something that you alluded to in the defensive rant. Somehow it got in there. When he started going off, we're 6 and F and 8 and it's not acceptable. Whatever all he was saying in there, I'll let everybody go do their own, lip reading and whatnot. I was just happy. Whatever that boiling point was, I'm not happy that it took stuff in his personal life to get there. I'm not happy that stuff got him there. But I've been saying early on in this season, he needs to stop trying to play so perfect and go out there sling the ball. I said I wanted to throw more interceptions. I think we'll be more effective when you do. You don't have to play a perfectly clean game. You got to push the ball downfield. So I'm okay with him having 1 or 2 picks if he has 3 or 4 touchdowns. I'm okay with him voicing his discomfort, dislike, and unacceptingness of mediocrity to Zach Taylor. I think he should have done it a long time ago. I don't care if it boils up on the sidelines. You've seen great quarterbacks do that throughout their careers. I saw Tom Brady do it with Bill Belichick and Josh McDaniel in New England. You know what I mean? I've seen that stuff go on. I want him to be the voice of this franchise. I want him to take control. I want him to tell them what he wants and what he expects. And if that means that some of the coaches aren't cutting the job, the head coach ain't cutting the mustard. If whatever's going on out there ain't doing it, then he's got the cachet to get something done about it.
Yeah, for sure. And to be perfectly honest, until we get a coach or until a coach develops that exact same high standard that he has already, it has to be him. And that's unfair for him to be that way. Like for us to ask for him to be that guy. But we just kind of already see it that it's really not going to be through Zach Taylor's eyes. He's not going to all of a sudden be the rah-rah guy and get in people's faces and try to set a high standard you can't really set that high standard when you have a losing record with not enough skins on the wall. People are going to look at your Super Bowl appearance as a head coach that Joe Burrow was the one that pretty much carried you there, not the other way around. And that's why if you're Joe Burrow, you kind of understand that in the back of your mind, you kind of have to be that person for the time being. And then enough noise will be created and circumvented, and then maybe change will be affected that way. So I'm happy to see the blow up on the sideline too. I'm here for it. I think that I needed to see a little bit more of Angry Joe kind of get into the faces of some of these teammates and coaches. Like, if you're not cutting it, man, you got to do better. Step your game up, step your standards up. But it's sad.
You can
because
still
I
be
do
Joe
feel-
Cool and do that LFG part of it too.
Yeah, and he's not being fake when he does that. It's just, dude, I'm frustrated. I'm annoyed. Yes, he dealt with what he dealt with earlier in the week with the breaking of his house, and then in the Dallas game, he has suffered a little bit of knee injury and whatnot that he was able to practice through. But overall, it's just been a very frustrating season. You know, he's putting up astronomical numbers that should have warned him to get in that MVP discussion, and he can't really be comfortable in that discussion because of the record. And that's just a failure of the team in and of it itself. But quite frankly, it's more so of a coaching failure more than anything because you're not setting those high enough standards. It really reminds me of the early days of the Cowboys. Well, more so the Dallas Cowboys post their three-time championship run with Troy Aikman. After Jimmy Johnson left, and after they won a third title with Barry Switzer in '95, and it's been a few years of just mediocrity and whatnot. Troy Aikman, he had to be the hard ass in that one time, and he was just kind of just like getting frustrated and annoyed that coaches ain't doing nothing about it. He's got to be the one that kind of getting everybody's behinds and telling them to play better and whatnot. And it really kind of drove him to insanity to the point where in 2000 he retired. You know, he's getting beat up and stuff like that. He's at the tail end of his career, and he's got to be the one to be the voice of reason and be the bad guy in the room nowadays. Where it used to be Jimmy Johnson that set that standard, and now nobody's doing that. My fear is that you let Zach Taylor and some of the rest of these coaching staff hang around too long, that's going to bleed into Joe Burrow's persona a bit, where it's like, I know I ain't got to get a coach that's going to hold them to a higher standard, at least to the standard I'm setting for myself and others around me. And you need to look, I don't want to predict the future or anything like that, but I think it's a good thing to see Joe kind of like exert that energy within that tool belt because he does have the cachet to do that.
Tim, you still here? What was your take on Joe Burrow and the passion? I'm gonna call it passion that you saw from him, and not accepting whatever the praise was or whatever the conversation that Zach Taylor was trying to have with him.
Well, we've seen in the past that Joe was presented the game ball and Joe didn't take the game ball. He was like, no, let's win some more freaking games. And I've said this in the past, and we discussed it on Running Through the Jungle last week. I know I've discussed it in the past, that Joe Burrow needs to voice his frustrations, whether if it is, Joe's going to be Joe. He's going to do it. I'm going to assume, I don't know the guy, not like I've talked to Joe, but I'm going to assume that he's going to do it professionally. He's going to voice his opinions, and that's how we're going to win football games. This organization is not going to improve if your franchise quarterback has no say-so in anything. Do we want a repeat of Palmer and the Cincinnati Bengals franchise? We don't. We want to give Joe the players that he needs to be successful, the coaches that he needs to be successful, and continuously to build on this thing. It's depressing when you're a Bengals fan, and we lived through, I've lived through three Super Bowls now. We lived through the 90s. We lived through the debacle of the Palmer era, of how the Bengals handled that. Now we go to a Super Bowl. Zach Taylor's record's still shit. Excuse my French. It is still, his overall record is crap. But Joe Burrow still has
live.
the heart.
I can't really excuse it. We're live. Sorry.
I know. I'm sorry. But Joe Burrow has the heart and the soul, and he wants to go out there and play perfect, but we all know that nobody's perfect. It does not matter what happens. But in this season right now, in order for us to win football games, the football games that we should have won, Joe would have had to play perfect because our defense did not hold up to anything. But that being said, that being said, though, is my whole point is this: is Joe has the right to voice his opinions, and he's not going to be like Aaron Rodgers. Oh, you better fire that a-hole tomorrow or whatever. Joe's not going to be that way. Joe's going to be professional. He's going to be like, I'm frustrated. What else more do you want me to do? Just like when Trey Hendrickson walked off the field and Zach had to calm him down. Well, these star athletes, they're busting their butts every single freaking day. They have a right to be frustrated. They have a right to go off on whoever's in their warpath at that time. But you know what? You can either take it professionally or you can take it like a baby back and have your feelings hurt.
Yeah. Hey, I don't think what he did was an emotional hurt your feelings. Like,
no,
I don't think that any leader, especially leader on a team or any star on a team, should apologize for holding people to a high standard. I just wish that we had a coach that felt the same way, because I see that lacking. And that's going to lead me to this. I'm going to put a little bow on this, I'm going to give you the only coach's cliff notes. If you keep watching Hard Knocks, AFC North, you can't tell me that we don't have the 4th rated coach in the division.
I've been saying that for several weeks.
It is glaringly more obvious the more you hear them all talk.
And now at this point,
man,
you got to expand it to the rest of the AFC coaching roster too, of who's all in the playoff picture and where does Zach Taylor rank among them. For the first time this past game, I thought Zach Taylor finally had a coaching advantage over his protege and Brian Callahan. But you want to know the crazy part about it is I still didn't feel that confident that he was that head and shoulders above Brian Callahan.
Oh, you gave us – that's it. I can't wait. When playoffs start, we're going to go through the playoff coaches. Win, lose, or draw. I love it. All right. We appreciate you guys rocking with us for the Roaring Reactions. If you have not hit that thumbs up, that like, that subscribe, please do so right now. And we are going to jump off of here and right back on for Running Through the Jungle. Preview this upcoming game with the Cleveland Browns. Can we get another victory? Come check us out. We'll let you know. Talk to you soon.